Hi, I was asked by a YouTube user on how to make basically a swoosh effect type intro. So this is the picture they sent me, and they kind of want this swoosh to come in like that, and then they can put in their logo in the middle there and anything they want on the top. And they were like, "How would you go about doing this?" Now, the way I thought of doing this was by using something like Flash or using a program that has animatable masks. So you can't really do it in Jahshaka, or you can, but it'd have to be hand drawn frame by frame, which would take a long time. So there's two ways to do this. As I said, in Wax, I'll probably put that up as a separate tutorial simply because otherwise it'll get a bit too long. That's and the other way would be to use like an Adobe Flash type thing to make the effect. And the reason I'm going for that version is because then you can I'll show you how to use synfig studio, which is just Google it, first link that comes up, and it's available for Windows, Linux and Mac, and it's supposed to be the freeware open source alternative to Adobe Flash basically. And so you can make your little animations using this program. So download it, install it, and then you can follow along with this tutorial. So the first thing we can do is we're going to open up synfig studio. I'm going to ignore I'm closing everything down. So when you open it, you're going to be presented with a bunch of different stuff. So you've got this one toolbar which has got all your work tools on there, like your brushes, your erasers, your modify tools. You've got this down here which for our intents purposes has the keyframe dialog and this timeline to scrub through. You have your workspace, which you can zoom in and out of by either clicking down here and clicking zoom in, and if it actually works it will zoom in and out. It's just being a bit slow now because my computer's being a bit crappy. And then most likely you'll probably have, if I click on file, panels, reset Windows to original layout, you'll have this on the side here, which basically like GIMP, you have layers down here, you have a color palette, you have this information which shows you where the cursor's at, it shows you the name of the file, it's got a history and a navigation thing up here. Again, I think it's just my computer's being a bit funny right now, that's why it's not really working. To change your project settings, you right click on edit, properties, and you can change your project settings to whatever you want it to be. So 720, 576. Click on time, you can have it at 25 frames per second. You can how long you want it, so 5 seconds here. I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm actually going to delete this, and I'm going to bring that down here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to right click here, click on edit, file, import, and we're going to bring in a picture. So I'm going to click on cropped, click on open, and it's beautifully not doing anything. Panels, layers, export the image in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, oh, it's finally caught up with us. What I'm doing here is I've zoomed out slightly, and as you can see the image was bigger than our canvas, so I'm getting these green buttons and just putting them over the corner, and it gives us our image. Now these aren't the original dimensions of the image, but I'm not really going to be too bothered right now about that. So I've got my whole setup here, so I've got my timeline down here. Now you might notice there's a play button here. Whenever I used to press that, it used to crash, so I'm not going to press that. I find it easier just to scrub through like this. I've got my keyframe dialog up there, and I've got my layers up here, and that's really what you nearly need for this thing. Now you go to your toolbar thing with all your tools on it, click on the beeline tool, and you'll get this, and it'll say create region beeline and create advanced outline. That's what you want it to do. And what we'll do is we want to outline the whole yellow shape, so we're gonna left click, then bring it down here. Now as you can see, it's a straight line. To curve it out, left click and then drag, and as you can see, these lines that are coming out of it, the longer they are, the curvier it's going to be. And then by moving up and down, you can change the angle and you can get it to basically match up. And I'm just going to do this very quickly, and again, so here I'm just doing the same thing, trying to get it to match up. Sometimes you don't even have to do anything, it will just match up quite nicely. If you wanted to, let's say, fine tune this a little bit, you can do that. So like for here example, it's slightly coming off, so if you right click that and click split tangents, then you can move these little things individually and make it a little bit more refined. There we go. And then bring it down here, bring it down here, go up to here, right click, click on loop beeline. And there we go, that's our thing finished. Now if we click here, now to stop editing, you can either click on one of these buttons up here or just click this gears thing and it finishes. And as you can see, it actually fills in our shape, and that's the shape we've just created. Now I've scrubbed to the 2-second line. I'm going to click on plus keyframe. Oh sorry, I've just done something stupid, haven't I? Before you can scrub to the 2-second line, you need to go down into your workspace, and at the bottom right corner here there's a green man. Click him. It should all now be bordered red, and that man should be turned red. Might be a woman actually, sorry, it's a green character I should say. And now click on plus keyframe and it will add a keyframe in. You'll know a keyframe has been added in by this green dot, this green triangle there. That's your keyframe. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add one in at 1 second as well. I'm going to add one in there. I'm going to add one in there. And then I'm going to go to 0 frames and I'm going to start editing the shite out of this. Now to make it easier for me to see, I'm going to uncheck the region so that I can't see it. And then I'm going to start moving this thing across. The reason I did that is because it works faster on the system if you can't see your region. And plus, as I said, you can then and then go back and click on plus keyframe. And so it's telling you where your keyframes are. And then as you scrub through, as you can see, it's going towards that and it doesn't look like a swoosh. And that's the reason why I had all these keyframes here. And you might notice these lines on here. These are the ones that are guidelines that I put on myself. So at this first keyframe, I actually want it to look like that. So what I'm going to do is when I get to the first keyframe, I'm actually going to change this thing completely to look completely different now. bring this up here like that. There we go. So now if we see how it rolls, it now swooshes into this and then moves into that. So what we do is now we go into the second keyframe that I created, and we can start making it to match up to this. Now these are completely arbitrary shapes that I created that I thought, okay, it just kind of goes with the flow. So if you're doing a slightly different effect, literally just go with what you think would be a good intermediate natural flow for this thing. Okay. So as you can see now, it starts outside, comes in, swooshes in like that, but still kind of comes off a bit weird at the end. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring these down here. I didn't want to touch that. So as you can see, it goes through like this, and then you can add in like extra points here, keyframes here. So this I'm just going off the cuff just to say, oh, it should kind of look like this. So that's why I'm doing it like this. And then you'd go to click on plus keyframe, and the keyframe will be added in its own time. That's one of the reasons this is happening so slow is simply because obviously I'm screen capturing at the moment, so the computer's got a lot of thinking to do. How did it added it in? I think it has. Yeah, it has. So as you can see, it now grows to there and then goes through, so it actually looks now like it's swooshing in. Now if you wanted that to be faster, all you can then do is select your keyframe by clicking on that triangle and moving it across, and you can retime the whole thing like that. And then you'd have an even faster swoosh in and whatnot. Once you've done that, uncheck your cropped, recheck your beeline, let the computer catch up if it ever does, uncheck your animation, and you're ready to actually render it out. If you've unchecked your crop, what will basically happen is the background now becomes transparent and you should only be able to see the beeline, well, this region that you've just created basically. I know it's taking a bit of time at the moment, but that's simply because, as I said, the animation, the thing catching up to me. What you then do is click on render, then you can change how you want it to render it out. So as an AVI, GIF, JPEG. I kept it as PNG. The reason I kept it as PNG is simply because and you can select the time you want it to render out and stuff. Click on choose. This shows you where you can actually then store it. Click on save. Remember, if you're going to save that as PNG or a bitmap file or whatever, or image file, the minute you click on save, if this is 3 seconds long, it's going to render out at 25 frames per second. 75 pictures. So if you do it on your desktop, you're going to get 75 pictures on there, just to let you know. So it's best to make a little folder and then put it inside the folder. I'm not going to show you this rendering out because it'll take forever. There we go. And basically here's one I made earlier. This one was made at 720p 720 resolution, and you can see it coming in. So I'll pick one up from down here. And so now we've got these series of PNGs. The great thing about them, as I said, they've got the transparency built in, so inside of Jahshaka it'll work a freaking treat. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that, delete that, delete that. So this is basically what we've bought in from our thing. This isn't like the one that I've just shown you how to do, because the one I've shown you how to do was a bit quicker. So I'm going to zoom out. My actual thing was as I said, 720p, so I'm going to change that to 720p. Click on add layer, bring in my animation, and there's my animation. Let's say I want to change the color. Click on layers, CPU effect, colorize. Put the red up, green down, and the person wanted yellow, so I'll put the saturation right up, and there's my yellow. So we've got a yellow swoosh coming in. Now let's say we wanted to add in our logo coming in, so click on desktop, click on load, click on C drive, use desktop, intro request, Jahshaka logo, animation layer, add in the logo, and I want it to come in at 3 seconds, so I'm gonna place it where I want it, scale it how I want it, and what I'll do is I'll put it for 3 seconds and 20 frames to go in, and then just before I'm going to change the transparency on this down to 0 plus, and there you go, it fades in. So we get our swoosh in, and then we get our Jahshaka fade in like that, and then you can get another layer, bring in your text. We can actually bring this down, easiest thing to do, that, then bring it up, and again at 3 seconds, do transparency, click on plus, at 4 seconds, increase the transparency, do some Y scale, do some scaling, make it look even more dramatic or whatever, and there you go, we have our final output. And then to, if any of you have been watching my latest videos, to get it out in 720p from here, or widescreen, well, widescreen, sorry, you would then let it animate out. Yeah, it's taking a bit of time. This has actually been quite a long tutorial. I've just looked on my phone. It's been roughly 20 odd minutes, which is, I think, is quite long for a tutorial. But I did originally do this tutorial. This isn't the first time. I've actually done this a couple of times tonight. Re-recorded it a couple of times. The computer's crashed, but most of it is basically, I think the last time, the one I recorded before this was 55 minutes long, and I thought it's a bit too long, so I've re-recorded this, separating out the wax and the synfig part. There we have it. Tidy, tidy. Click on editing. Click on clear project. Bring it across. And start playing it through. It will be a bit choppy, but that's simply because of the screen recording software. But it seems to be working. There you go. Of course, you could put your own logo in. You can make your own swoosh effect. You can swoosh there or whatever. With those things now, you can make any effect you want. You can make a talking head. You can do anything you want really now with them. And that is how you would do it using synfig and then sticking it into Jahshaka. Hope that helped. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm gonna do literally now. I'm gonna make another video to do with how to do it in Wax. It's a lot faster, I think, because you can do it in one program. Yeah. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you have any queries, let me know, and I'll see if I can help. Thank you. Bye.